Hello, hello, hello. We are back in Rizia. Now, last time I believe we had the big old gas crisis. We had the meeting at the AN. I'm gonna go for this stream as long as I can, just because the game, because there's so much reading, it does have a habit of destroying my throat. Unfortunately. Cena continent positions this anti-CSP front. The CSP is the communists. Yes, Cortana. Federalist Socialist Republic. By Chairman Leon Malaniev, Chevatanga Kawamba Bumba Bumba Mumba Hofumba P5 Hofumba Bumba. Anyway, so where are we here? We have one thing we have to do here in the Republic of Swordland. Oh yes, the report. Swordland repairs the post King Ramus. Oh, yes, there's one more thing I had to do. Was the request provide energy? Where is it? Trade? No, it's one down. I need to make the hydroelectric dam. What is that? 2 authority, 5 budget. Okay, next turn I will make sure to do that. Let me write that down, in fact. So, we do that. Looks like everybody's in favor of that. 4 turns is a little bit long. But 3 per. I've seen some people produce like crazy amounts of energy with this, and I'm not doing too good. I get the impression that I haven't been doing too good of managing the different systems. Delegation arrived at Hull Sword International Airport earlier this afternoon. President Ewald Alfonso and a contingent of Swordist officials were there to welcome us. With the sun casting a golden hue over the city, our delegation reached Hull Sword Tower. Accompanying me were my key advisors, including Lorento, Elena, and my daughter, Princess Vina. And President Alfonso stepped forward with a welcoming gesture. King Taurus, welcome to Hull Sword Tower. It is with great pleasure to welcome all of you to this meeting today, which celebrates the great multifaceted economic partnership we are building between our great nations. Let's see, we can shake, we can say, we could discuss mutual aspirations, shake hands. I'm much more interested in Maroon Palace later. Okay, so that's basically saying that Hull Sword Tower looks stupid. Both of our nations have a little time to waste. Let's go ahead. We appreciate the welcome and nod respectively. Let's just shake his hands. A solid start. President Ewald Alfonso's gaze briefly swept over our group before settling in on Vina. Princess Vina, it is an honor to welcome you. During your stay, Mr. Manger and our team will ensure all your needs are met with the utmost care. Manger is Gus Manger. He is not a trustworthy fellow, if I remember correctly. Say much about Swordland's recent history and eager to experience its culture firsthand. She's very diplomatic, so that's good. Consider us at your service, Your Highness. Should you have any requests or need assistance, please don't hesitate to let me know. Local delegation, particularly Princess Vina, will have a chance to savor dishes like zabla and kimchi. Okay, that's food. Hospitality is greatly appreciated. That's splendid, and if your team could introduce Swordland's finest beverages. We don't like their drink. It's not very good. I hope your team's prepared for Vina's curiosity. She might be a bit busier than a one-armed jungler. I'll just say that she's in good hands. No worries, King Torres will make sure Princess Vina and your delegation get the full Swordish experience. Top-notch, no fuss. Appreciate that, Gus. It's important for us to see Swordland in its colors, beyond the official veneer. Thank you, Mr. Manger. I'm looking forward to experiencing Swordland's culture and history firsthand. Now, let us continue our conversation over the evening's meal. A revolving restaurant awaits, offering not just exquisite cuisine, but a panoramic view of Hull Sword. Ah, interesting, exciting. And so we're riding the elevator now, and we get a momentary sense of detachment from the world below. The cityscape of Hull Sword became a moving panorama through the glass walls. From the historic charm of the old town to the sleek modernity of the Maroon District, from the lush capital park to the diversity of New Ellery, the city looked like a blend of past and present. Quite the view, isn't it? It's always interesting to see Hull Sword from this perspective. Hope your first impression of our city is a favorable one. As we strive to diversify Rizia's economy away from resources, Hull Sword inspires our aspirations. It's quite a sight. Its modernity contrasts with Port Drazon's historic grandeur. You should consider adding a few skyscrapers to Port Drazon's landscape of imagined tourists, or impressive. The true character of a city is found not just in the skyline, but the streets and the lives of its people. Observing Halswood, one can't help but admire the strategic planning that went into its development, or seeing Halswood like this, a city striving towards the future we must maintain and to preserve our heritage. The last one seems like a bit of an insult. Now, my guy, we've established, isn't a huge fan of it. He likes tourism, but he's not a huge fan of the modern skyscrapers and things like that. That's too new money. He likes old money, and he's an old school guy. We're not gonna try and compare and contrast. Let's just say that the true character of a city is not in its skyline, but it's in its streets and its lives of its people. Right on. It's the everyday folks that really tell you what a place is about, recession or not. Because I think they have a recession at this point in time. I say historically, obviously it's a fake country, it's made up, but you get the idea. In terms of like the game lore, because this is before the first game. Or the main game, I should say. This is DLC. Privatization initiatives aim to invigorate these very streets to bring prosperity not just to the skyline, but to every citizen. As the elevator gently came to a halt at the top of Halswood Tower, the door slid open, revealing the entrance to the revolving restaurant. Alfonso continued to talk. Recession of 51 was a direct consequence of entrenched systemic issues we inherited. The old bureaucratic guards, still loyal to President Sol's era, resisted necessary changes, leading to economic instability. Our response to this crisis has been to aggressively pursue economic reforms. This includes the ambitious privatization of key sectors such as energy, industry, and transportation. Our goal is to stimulate competitiveness and innovation. These steps, while controversial, are vital for Sodalland's economic revival. Attracting foreign investment and modernizing our economy are crucial for positioning Sodalland towards a prosperous and stable future in the 60s. Sorry, Alfonso, that didn't happen. In a monarchy like Rizia, such swift policy changes might be easier to implement. In Sodalland, we face resistance not just from the old guard, but also from the institutional inertia. It's a lesson for the need for more decentralized, autonomously responsive governmental system. Our centralized system under the monarchy allows for more decisive and effective government, bypassing such bureaucratic hurdles. Freudian slip. The essence of governance is not just the efficiency, but also the legitimacy and fairness. You've got to remember that the general public isn't always clued into what's necessary for economic growth. Strong leadership also means making tough calls that people might not understand at the time. Leadership, especially in times of crisis, demands not just strength, but also empathy and understanding. Let's see what we're going to say. Quick decisions are valuable, but they must be the right decisions for our people. We may not move as quickly as a liberal democracy, but we move with purpose and deliberation. As a monarch, I must balance the need for quick action with the necessity of maintaining public trust and support. I think that sounds fine. The crux of governance is understanding and responding to the needs of the people, which is funny coming from him considering he was incredibly corrupt and I believe he was tossed out because of that. While we push for reforms, we also strive to maintain public trust and ensure that these changes truly benefit our citizens. Here we are. Guess we've arrived at the top of the revolving restaurant. Would you like to know more about the panorama before us? I can offer some insights into the different areas of the city, each with their own unique story and significance. Understanding Halswood's various districts and their stories will give me a deeper insight into the heart and soul of Sodland. No, let's move on. I believe our time will be spent discussing the future of our bilateral relations, which I agree with. Let's not dally around here. Let's get into the meat. Success of both the whiskey wine deal and the resort investment has paved a solid path for us. I am eager to see how today's discussion will further this trajectory. Let me thank you for your hospitality and kindness so far. You're open to hear your proposal regarding our common future, and then raise a toast. Let us say the first one. So we're going to talk about our successes and say that, I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. Our previous successes serve as a beacon for what we can achieve today and in the future. Existing deals between our nations have already demonstrated a profound and positive impact. According to reports from Councillor Elena Werner, our alcoholic beverages industry is witnessed doubling in commerce, accompanied by a significant uptick in consumption metrics. Our beverages industry in particular has seen a remarkable boom in commerce, corroborated by the increased consumption data. This boom could be a great way of exploring new markets and diversifying our export portfolio, which is crucial for Rizia's economic resilience. Very true. We can't just rely on gold, because that's what our economy is mostly based off of. It's gold and a little bit of energy. We're trying to develop oil more, obviously, but can't do that right now. We're in a bit of a dispute. So anything that'll diversify our economy is good, as far as I'm concerned. So she's talking about... Oh, yes. I don't care about the guild contests because they're not from our place. We've already had issues with them. So she complained about the guild contests because they don't drink alcohol, but I have a very negative opinion about the guild contests. As my character, we don't allow them in holy sites and things like that, so it doesn't matter. Princess Vino, we try our best to respect cultural traditions. It's also important to encourage progress and modernization. Okay, the first one is talking about finding a balance. I don't care about that when it comes to the gun contests, honestly. My character does not care. Progress always often requires challenging traditional norms. He does not like that. But the idea of challenging traditional norms is not in his wheelhouse. He's not somebody for that. He's a conservative at heart, a traditionalist, an autocrat, or would-be autocrat. So that's not for him. People often look to their ruler for guidance, so decisions can significantly influence public sentiment. That's what I'm going to be going with. Father, we must remember to lead with empathy and understanding. Well, to our citizens, yes. In Suzerain, we've observed that the decisive leadership does indeed shape public perception, and sometimes negatively, too. As we delve into these perspectives, it might be timely to hear from Gus, since he raised a question in our communique. I'm also keen to know about the current economic situation in Kingdom of Rizia. Our recent research and inquiries haven't been fully answered. Kingdom has a strong opportunity to invest a significant monetary income in Swordland for a future benefit. I have one thing of budget. Money sits in treasuries and money wasted and lost. Nobody wants that, not even the Golden Kingdom. Additionally, Rizian energy output seems to be historically low as of now. We can offer opportunities in the future that could help you stock up. It's easy to talk about these plans yet, but today might be a strong step to figure a good future deal about energy too. You seem to have conducted research thoroughly. I possess a full picture. Our limited budget is only temporary. Our income sources are steady. More money will be available. Or I'm focused on improving the energy situation. We are already working on having a better net surplus soon. Our limited budget is very much only temporary. More money will be available soon. Your view of the budget constraints is a passing phase reflects a strategic foresight. With Rizia's steady income sources and our discussions today, it seems we're setting the table for more. Ah, yes. President Alfonso cleared his throat, signaling a shift to gain attention. More often, Rizia, the chance to purchase Swedish government bonds with a 4-year maturity at excellent rates. Despite the current recession, we're on a path to economic revitalization thanks to significant investments being secured for Kinal and Anaraka in our progressive policy reforms. A key aspect of these reforms is the further privatization of crucial sectors, including energy. Gasam is at the center of the transformation, poised to play a central role in our economic recovery. This bond issue is a chance for Rizia to not only gain financially, but also diversify its economy through deepening of our bilateral ties. Now the question is would my character believe that you should bet on the Rizian government? Is that something he'd be willing to do? Would King Tomas make that mistake? Given the current recession in Swordland, how can you ensure us these investments will lead to growth? What assurances can Rizia have concerning the potential political changes in Swordland, especially with your re-election not guaranteed? You mentioned your future benefits for Rizia by signing the deal. Could you elaborate further on what these might entail? You plan to sell shares of Gazan, and your current liberal economic policies are ambitious. Okay, that doesn't really say anything, so... How can you assure that these investments will lead to growth or potential political changes, or we have mentioned future benefits to Rizia by signing the deal. I'll just say, what can you do to guarantee growth? You review the economic performance indicators and further recovery plans thoroughly. Growth forecasters alone aren't enough, very true. Investments in Qatar and Anaraka are substantial, and coupled with our economic reforms, they are projected to significantly boost our economy. Market speculation or theory, our plans are calculated based on economic principles behind a sound free market strategy. Well, isn't that convenient? It's encouraging to hear about these substantial investments, Mr. President. These aren't just hopes and dreams, they're well thought out plans based on hard economic data. We're setting Swordland on a path to a robust economic rebound. What assurances can Rizia have? Given you might not be re-elected, which I believe happens. In the economic realm, continuity often prevails over political shifts. Our economic policies are designed to withstand political changes. The landscape in Swordland is ever-changing, particularly with Anton Rain's candidacy. This is the guy in the first game. For those of you who don't know, Anton Rain is the person who takes over. Despite this, the bond proposals are built with long-term stability and growth. It's reassuring to hear. What are your thoughts, Your Majesty? Unless you receive a favorable guarantee for our risk, I feel like these statements are fake assurances. I don't want to be like that rude. Well, Mr. Magier and President Alfonso, economic experts, so I think we can trust their judgment on the matter. No, they're trying to sell us. Something flew in front of my face. A little bug. Actually, it's nothing. Actually, nothing. I'm here to provide any additional information or clarification you might need. I don't think I'm going to be investing with these people for this. It seems like a bad idea. Seems like a waste of money. Making such decisions requires careful deliberation. Feel free to raise any specific concerns or questions you might have. You mentioned future benefits. What would they be? The bond opens the door to future collaboration. Oh yes, and he also runs Gazham, which is their oil company, I guess. Maybe preferential access to energy resources and shares, and a chance to be part of Gazham's revitalization, which I'm actively steering. Gazham share sales and liberal policies could be game changers. We need to gauge how these economic shifts will affect the returns on our bonds. It's crucial to understand how these changes will ensure the stability of our investment in Swordland. Making Gazham not more competitive and efficient, we're not only boosting our economy, but also enhancing the security and potential returns of your investment. Yeah, I don't know. Import tax reduction on Rizian goods, that's not that important. That's good, but well, how much is it? If it's one budget, I'll pay it, but I think it's going to be more than that. Concerned about the elections. How do you envision this collaboration is not just fleeting? I'm looking for a quick fix, but a sustainable partnership regardless of who leads. Very ambitious politics here. As I'm pushed to raise from the global market and further economic liberalizations are likely to have a significant impact. Stability and predictability are key for us based on our historical precedents. The new plan is aimed at boosting market confidence and stability. It will enhance the security and profitability of your initiative. Vina has lots of stuff to say, but they don't mean anything. That's kind of what I've noticed, is that she just kind of says platitudes, which is not great. She's only like 19, I think, in the game, so I guess you can't expect much, right? Gazham is set to increase. Yes, I know, but Kingdom can engage more deeply into its economic sphere, potentially leading to preferential trade deals and collaboration in sectors like energy. Okay, so they have one bond proposal that's large and one that's small. Now considering the more cautious investment of 3 billion Rizian guilders, the potential returns and a successful economic recovery are still impressive. So the economy rebounds as our projections. Rizia could see an investment grow to about 9 billion Rizian guilders. It's a small scale, but the proportionate increase remains significant. This will pave the way for cooperation in the future, or might be more prudent with a small one. Even a small investment isn't without its risks. 3 billion guilder investment with the potential to triple sounds promising. Anyone with sense would know that an investment that claims that you can triple your money or double your money or something like that is probably bogus. And our fellow here is not dumb. I might be willing to do the 3 billion, but I don't expect it to triple or double. And even then, like 3 billion, I guess that's like maybe one budget point. So it's like, it would be kind of a rough thing to do. because we'd be losing out on money potentially, but at the same time, it would at least give us some cash, right? If we consider our successful wine, whiskey, and resort deals in Swordland, this bond investment seems like an actual progression of our growing economic partnership. Yes, yes, yes. Building foundation of mutual trust. Even with a more conservative investment came toward us, the initial existing synergy from our wine, whiskey, and resort deals provide a solid base for control. Yeah, you keep saying the same stuff. You keep saying, further cooperation, blah, 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 blah. It's the same stuff over and over again. I don't think I'm going to go for the larger one, even if I can't afford it somehow. I'm not going to ask Gus what his position is. I'm certainly not going to commend them. Oh, I might commend them. While the presentation is undoubtedly sleek, I hope this is not a case of style over substance. A visual breakdown is quite helpful. I'll just say I commend their effort. I hope it helps you understand the full scope and potential benefits of this offer. We're offering is exceptional to return rate of 3 times. Yeah, I know, I'm aware, but it sounds like a fucking scam. Gotta be honest with you, it sounds like a scam. You tried to screw me over with the wine deal, but I caught you out, so I can't really trust either of you. Okay, so now the question is, where does Rizia see itself in the future, as a regional power in South Makopa, or are we aiming for a more global presence? I highly doubt I'd have enough power to be a global presence like that. Why is this even a question? I just say global player. Make it sound like we're real ambitious, even if we're not. Ambition, I like it. When it comes to global power trade, in the global power, trade is the most significant influence in this century. Yes, and regional commitments and immediate economic interests are the first priority. I agree. Over culture and all that. Okay, so they're trying to sell me on that hard. Flip a coin to decide the investment. I made a decision. I'd like to hear Venus' thoughts on this, or no, she's not gonna. There's nothing she has to offer. I'm gonna be honest. There's not a lot going on up there when it comes to finance. Rento, what do you say? Someone who's witnessed the ebb and flow of international relations, can see this bond deal as a bold step forward. It's a chance to deepen our ties with Swordland and assert Rizia's economic prowess on a larger scale, larger stage. If I can do the small deal, I'll do the small deal. Very well. What do you think would be negative? Oh yes. What would be negative, Lorento? Negative scenario, we lose lots of guilders and we have to justify taking such a risk. I can do a small bond investment. It's only one, so I won't feel like I, lost out if I don't get the full investment back. If it does work out, it's good. Yeah, it's a cautious yet strategic decision. It allows us to explore this opportunity while safeguarding our assets. Exactly, that's smart. I think it's probably the best choice. Rather than none at all. At least it says to them that we're still interested. They might bring us other stuff later on, There we go. And we're eating our meal, and as the final course was cleared away, the golden hues of the setting sun cast a warm glow over the table. President Alfonso stood, glass in hand, and turned to me with an inviting smile. To planting the seeds of a growing partnership and mutual success. Even a small investment is a step forward towards a future where our nations prosper together. We are nurturing a bond built on trust and mutual benefit. Here we are laying the groundwork for a solid and future relationship between our countries. A more pause that followed, and the toast gradually subsided, and the atmosphere buzzed with animated conversations. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a beautiful array of colors in the sky, we began preparing to leave. The evening air was crisp, and we journeyed toward the Moon Palace, anticipation hung in the air for the evening party. Okay, so that was choice. Rizia embarks on prudent investment journey with Swordland. Very good. Now, people in Rizia don't really like Swordland that much, so it is something to be concerned about. I'm not concerned about. Concerned isn't the word. But we do... What's this? Okay, that's just that. Anyway, so going to the next turn. So we should be able now with this... We're going to get 7 budget. And it should be good. Meditations. Okay, here we go. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, now that I can do it, is going to go down here. Take it. There we go. And we're going to work on that hydroelectric dam. There we go. Now, that only leaves us with 2. Ooh, what's this? Situation updated. What's this? Well. High extraction volume. Nice. Okay, we're starting to get some high volumes. Significant bolstering the industry and energy sectors is high output and only reinforces economic stability, but also enhances Rizia's standing in the international energy markets. Nice. And so the gas field came into whatever the heck term I'm looking for. It came into production. It came into operation. Nice. We upgraded it. Very good. Okay, so what's the new situation with this? Doesn't say. How about welfare? Welfare. Roma's Tourist Hospital? Yes, we've just finished that. Order. Violent protest in the Brunnish region? Yes, I remember that. Immigrants and House Suzerain and all this other schnight? I don't even know what I'm saying. Okay, so we purchased the 4-year Swedish government bonds. Brunnish to harness the power of water. Hydroelectric dam starts construction. Oh, yes. So the hydroelectric dam is going to be in Brunnish. So that might be a problem because it might get blown off. It might get blown up. Republic of Morella. Ah, okay, so Morella has called an emergency ITC board meeting. She's going to try and force our hand here, which I completely, totally refuse. Almost towards hospital, nice. New bilateral agreement, discussions with Wayland. Oh, great. What fun. So we're finally meeting Victor Smolak again. Victor Smolak. Just ahead of my meeting with him, I convened my council for a briefing. Thank you for joining us here. I looked around at the table at everybody. Rento, as you have your latest information from the Wayland's Foreign Ministry, would you like to begin? Okay, Lorento, what are we going to do? You're in uncharted territory, Your Grace. That's concerning. Yeah, because you have to remember that, just a moment here. Yeah, that, Smolak is kind of a bit of a jerk. Sorry, I spilled some water here. Smolak is kind of a, he's an untrustworthy guy. Generally, I mean, in the first game he's trustworthy, but so far it seems like he's dicking us around so he can keep control of Zeal. But at the same time, he's one of those types of guys where if you prove that you're trustworthy, he will work with you. But at the same time, I don't know. Because he has done the threat mitigation protocol. Yeah, he's in a position to hold Zeal hostage until his demands are met. Indeed, the new handover plan his ministers are now proposing is a 3-year timeline. Oh. 3 years more? You can't do anything more than that, Lorento? Or 3 years, I can't be standard procedure, can it? 3 years is nothing in the grand scheme of the arena. I'm willing to wait. If that's how long it takes for this to be done properly, I'm fine with that. I'm not gonna get angry at Lorento because, let's be honest, you're not gonna be able to talk down this guy with that. Is that standard procedure? It's an unprecedented situation, yes. And the AN is satisfied that he set a new deadline at all. Well, classic AN, right? Fucking useless. What makes us think that this one will be met when the last one was not? Yeah. She was angry, very angry. This is our territory. Why are you not setting the agenda? I'm surprised the international community is not challenging an oppressive man like President Smolak. It's the oil, my darling. The oil. That's it. I just looked at her with mild surprise. What are the people living in Zeal? Has anyone asked them how they feel about an extra 2 years of Wizzik rule? My treasurer smiled wistfully. You may still have the opportunity to set the agenda. The agreement Wayland proposes is bound to have economic aspect. And considering the dire straits Wayland is with the rest of the world, President Smolak might be about to offer us the deal of our lives. Correct as usual, dear. Oh ho ho. As Wayland's under partial sanctions, mostly by the West, the one commodity they have been trading freely is oil, but the embargo we have agreed on with Rumberg has been slowing that down. Most crucially, the two men, yes, because we got together with Rumberg and we're putting pressure on them. Most crucially, the two men have admitted responsibility for the Zeal attacks under Wezek custody, which doesn't negate President Smolak's claim that security has been compromised, but it does weaken it. Even so, we should handle this meeting with delicacy. Any aggression on our part could be used against us. Let's see, the hell with delicacy, it's not what I'm going to do. We have to give him everything he asks for. I don't agree with that. Delicacy is one thing, submission is another. We must be careful with what we promise. And I'm in enough trouble with Palas. I just want to get this over with. Let's go with number 3. Delicacy is one thing, submission is another. We must be careful with what we promise. And I agree, we might be able to sneak out a pretty good deal here. Very true, Your Majesty. At some point, it may become necessary to call Wayland's bluff. I know this much, Your Grace. Unless concessions are made, it will take years, if not decades, to get Zeal back. Any questions thus far, Your Majesty? Duchess Azara, you have any follow-up information about the Zeal incident, Mrs. Warner? Which resources are we able to bargain with? Grand Wiseman Ignatius, what do you think? Do you think the religious affairs in Wayland have an impact on our negotiations? I don't think so. Hugo, is there any word from the House delegates about this? Like they give a shit. Right, they give a shit, but it's not like I give a shit about them giving a shit, you know what I mean? Bunch of hopped up idiots. They're just a puppet regime. Not a puppet regime, but like a puppet parliament. Azara, what do you have to say? She shook her head. Nothing conclusive. Wayland Intelligence sent a set of fingerprints to run through our database. There were no matches. They claimed the prints didn't belong to any Wezek citizen on file, but without our own presence up there, we have no way of verifying that. But no additional evidence has been found that points to the involvement of Suwomina. Now they still haven't been fully implicated or fully ruled out. Which resources are we able to bargain with, Ms. Warner? Good question. Gold is always an option. If there's weapons that Wayland is interested in, we can offer our Detour rifles. Despite our deal with the swords, we have a small wine surplus that we can sell or trade. We didn't drink all of it in Qualus. Qualus only felt like we did. Referencing the party back then. I glanced over Lucita and she threw me a wink. The others didn't seem to notice. Oh yeah. If we manage to free up the natural gas in the Aureus field in time, what if we don't sell the Rumberg? Will be a tradable asset. The country is rich in oils. Wayland won't need much. Yeah, we're not gonna sell oil to the Wayland. Their whole primary export is oil. They don't want to buy it, right? They just won't sell what they need. What's gonna happen if we don't? You know what? I'll ask the wise men. What's the religious affairs here? Oh, it very well may have an effect. He frowned pensively. Our neighbor has long followed the path of Dasnurdi, and I do not fault them for it. But in the hands of the current regime, that religion has become a cudgel which to persecute Wayland's Golcontis minority. The Bloods, you mean. But we are persecuting the Golcontis as well. They're barred from our holy site. Yes, but they are still welcome within our borders. And he's the guy who came up with the whole policy there. Interesting. We'll ask for aid, but I believe compassion is called for. Okay, Hugo, since we listened to the other guy, what do you have to say? They admit about it? Should take a backseat protecting Rizian interests. Okay. So basically they're saying, you know, be strong, keep things going in our favor, which is more or less what I have. The opposition is more interested in compromise, especially the party members from Brennas, because they're probably... Yeah. The people from Brennas want their area back. Makes sense. And I do agree that Zeal, I think, is going to be its own thing. I don't think I give it to House Suzerain. If I have to, I may give it back to House Suzerain just as a sweetener for like a deal or something like that, which I suspect might happen, but I'm not going to be planning on it, right? Oh my Vina, she's too nice. What valor can we expect if you don't come to an agreement? Only the beginnings of one's going to be reached today. Do we have a contingency plan? If our negotiations fall through, the international pressure is insufficient to force Wayland back to the table, and the responsibility will fall on Zeal itself. If a majority of Zeal citizens believe the territory should belong to Rizia, the Wezek's government cannot simply ignore them, especially if we gather external support. Can they will. No state peacefully gives power away. It's very true, especially with Smolak. Yeah, supporting any people's movement could backfire horribly because we are a monarchy. And we have a majority. I hope the opinion was divided. Doesn't have to be peaceful, does it? Could I ask? I'd rather focus on negotiation for now. It doesn't have to be peaceful, right, Mrs. Zorro? She says, no, Your Majesty. Deal is cut off from the Wessex mainland, devote enough funding to re-up to the right groups, and we can make an overthrow happen without getting our hands dirty. Business Smolak may not respect a peaceful transition, but he will respect that. He will respect a peaceful transition if one is officially been called for. If we opted to fund the Zeal branch of the Iranian Taurus Association, they could coordinate a Rizian-led reunification initiative. Gonna pressure from both inside and outside Zeal, Wayland will have to give the region back, or at the very least hold a referendum. My dear Duchess, you and your family must learn that bloodshed isn't the answer to everything. Yes, I say. My son told me that what he offered you in Zeal, Your Majesty. Perhaps now would be the time to take him up on it. Turn to the others. We have an option to activate a cell of Su-Omina in Zeal. Whoopsie. Hugo, you speak a little bit too quick. You should have listened. Should have waited to see if I was interested in. Put the Wizzik occupiers in their place. I think it's a preposterous idea too. To no end, don't listen to my uncle as a last resort in case negotiations don't work out. That's basically what I'm going to do. I don't want to provoke a war if I don't have to. Lucida was staring at me intensely. A loyalist militia that can't be directly traced to our government. This could prove very useful, Your Majesty. But only if they had more arms and better training. Otherwise, it should be a nuisance to both sides. Hey, good point. I'll see what we can do about that. Or I think we're in a good enough position to negotiate Zeal's return without raising an ante. I said no to Rico for a reason. We won't be revisiting the topic. I'll see what I can do about that. It might be useful. We have the wish to provide both, but sending supplies in secret may prove difficult logistically. When there's a will, there's a way, he says. And briefed as I'm going to be, it's time to visit President Smolak, and I assume that what I'm going to do next is going to be determined by this meeting. So I'm going to try and make it peacefully, and if not, I guess I have to try violence. Because I'm not going to let him keep Zeal. I don't think it's fair. Lucida seemed to be intentionally delaying her exit, her eyes locked onto mine. Titus and Laurento stood by the door waiting to escort me to the meeting. If you need to wait outside, I'll be there in a moment. So let's talk to her. With a knowing grin, Laurento bowed and motioned for Titus to follow in the hall. That's not good. Lucida snapped her attaché case shut and turned to me. I hope you understand the personal relationship has no bearing on my political decisions here in the council chambers and right before diplomatic meetings. Well, if you insist. Whatever you have to say, make it fast. What is it, Duchess? Let's go with that one. She walked towards me hesitantly. Your Majesty, I've been thinking. My advances towards you and Callus were rather ill-advised. I'm afraid I overstepped the boundaries of propriety. Many few bounds were overstepped that night, including some I didn't even know existed. What do you mean? We're both unmarried adult nobles. It'd be perfectly acceptable for us to be together. Much as I'd like to walk out of these chambers arm in arm with you, I'm afraid you're right. You didn't overstep any bounds. I found your candor refreshing, and I still do. Let's go with that one. She blushed. Thank you. So we can't really... I don't think it's really good to be necessarily with her openly, but it's good to keep her on our side given that she's the leader of the military. But people talk, on the council and beyond. I'd hate for anyone to think your national security decisions were influenced by our personal intimacy. Exactly. Perhaps it's best to keep this under wrap until my father is well enough to resume his position. A secret affair, I confess I'm no stranger to those. I am the party prince, after all. How is General Zorro's health? Why don't we just kick you off the council now? Titus would live the job, I reckon. No. Pragmatic, beautiful, noble one. Should have married you ages ago. How is your father's health? Still ailing, but improving by the day. Oh, that's good. In the meantime, here's something for luck. She held out a hand, and it was a small wooden object. It was a chess piece, a queen. It appeared to be made out of marble with gold details. I picked it up and took a closer look. There was a pair of crossed swords carved into it. The Zorro sigil. My uncle's. The mutineers ransacked his country house after they killed him. They took the set, but this must have fallen out in the chaos. Thanks to my father's partnership with Wayland, those killers were brought to justice. Can't take this. Was told they perceive the mental value for you. I'm sorry, my father should have never let that come to that. A queen. The most valuable piece of the chessboard. I don't have time for games. What am I going to do with the chess piece? Okay, that's just mean. Thanks to my father's partnership with Wayland, those killers are brought to justice. Blood for blood, and I'm afraid there's more yet to be spilled. Indeed. Ooh, she kissed me. You should be heading to a meeting. It's boxers today. That's messed up. He's a spicy boy. I slipped the chess piece into my pocket and stepped out into the hall to rejoin my bodyguard and foreign counselor. May I ask, Your Majesty? Confidential security matter? I'll discuss it with you later. Lento nodded. He didn't speak another word as Titus escorted us through winding corridors to the first floor diplomatic suite. We don't want to give anyone any ammunition, even if we think we can trust them, right? So let's not be open about our smooching. Hello, President Smolak. Your Majesty, Mr. Escobillo, it's truly a pleasure to be here, you fucking dickhead. So let's see, the pleasure is mutual. Thank you for meeting me. President Smolak, I'm glad that you finally found the time to meet with me. I wish you could say the same, President Smolak, or I don't think we have the carpets. We have carpets, I know it's tradition among your people. The pleasure is mutual, Mr. President. Thank you for meeting me. Circumstances have changed since we last met, of course, but I'm confident that we can come to an understanding. He sets a newspaper down he'd been reading. You won't believe what they're saying about me in your paper, Your Majesty. Smolak's iron grip on zeal, enforced by dictatorial command rather than any real respect for international law and the rights of the local population, should be seen as a threat to us all. I don't see anything wrong with that statement. Let's not be that like that. I can't control what the Rizian press says about you. The more than I can control what it says about me, that's not true at all. It's indeed over the top, Mr. President. I'll ensure that my papers refrain from such slander in the future. Relax, Your Majesty. You should read what my country's papers are saying about you. He laughed loudly. You see, you and I are not as different as you might like to believe. With all due respect, we are. No, I'm not going to say that. You're right. None of us want our chaos and greed to spread across Kropa. That's true, Mr. President. Both of us only want what's best for our people. I'm sure we'll be able to come to an agreement with that in mind. Let's center this back to the Arcasia, the Americans, basically. Interesting, Your Majesty. I always thought you monarchies prefer to stay out of superpower fray. As a matter of fact, doesn't Grace organization claim neutrality in the Great War of Ideas between Arcasia and United Cortana? Yet you remain closely tied to Rumburg, a nation that is clearly oriented towards Arcasia in the west despite all pretenses towards the contrary. Thornto jumped in smoothly. We have economic and familial ties to Rumburg. That does not mean that we share their views. The reading room should be ready by now. Shall we proceed? Unfortunately, I think I put my foot in my mouth a little bit there, unfortunately. Let's to the next room over, where a set of blue upholstered armchairs are being arranged around a circular table. The three of us had a seat. Palace aide came by with water and coffee. Now that you're here, Mr. Smolak, can you explain in greater detail how you decided to postpone the Zeal handover? Smolak took a sip of water and he slowly wiped his mustache. It is simple, Mr. Escobil. Zeal is now home to several million citizens of Wizzic origin. Under the terms of a treaty our predecessors signed, they were able to have the right to stay and work in the region. But the Zeal attack made it clear that those terms would not be respected. Without the protection of my government, I fear further violence will come to those who stay. What about the Rizians whose homes were destroyed by your civil war? The violence you mentioned is responsibility for select individuals they're being dealt with. I don't understand. I and my kingdom have been nothing but cooperative in the wake of the Zeal incident. Please just tell me what can I do to reassure you of your citizens' safety. Let's just get straight to the point and not play games. What do you want, basically, is the question we're asking here. Now you're... Oh, come on, Smolak. You may not have incited the incident, but failing to denounce the suspected perpetrators, you condoned it. Your continued partnership with Rumburg in the face of all its efforts to destabilize us is also a warning sign to me. I cannot simply hand these people's lives over to a government that is, at best, indifferent to their existence. Who will protect them? They don't protect them because they never belonged to Zeal in the first place. Okay, that's a great way to end the conversation. Whatever you believe Rumburg has done is doing is to Wayland, Rizia has no part in it. I understand. We'll make special effort to integrate all Wizzics who wish to stay. Laurento nodded. Rizia takes Wayland's concerns very seriously, and we are ready to take all available measures to ensure the security of your people once the region is back in Rizia's hands. That's comforting to know, Mr. Escobil. He smiled just a little too widely. Administrators and I agreed that before Zeal is reintegrated into Rizia, a good faith effort must be made to strengthen bonds between our countries. We therefore drafted an addendum to the original treaty, a series of measures meant to renew our old friendship. Great. And if this friendship helps Wayland bypass certain trade sanctions, so much the better. I agree that the closer cultural and economic ties can be benefit to both the nations. What precisely do you mean by friendship? A military alliance? You're concerned about Rizia nationalists attacking Wessex citizens? I must warn you that such measures will only make them more angry. If it helps you bypass the trade sanctions, that's much better, isn't it? Why so cynical, Your Majesty? Our countries were close allies once. They can't be again. Oh, come on, Smolak. We know what you want. Don't be coy. The terms are extremely vague. You're asking for a trade deal, a bilateral migration agreement, and a counterterrorism cooperation impact. What's the deal with the anti-terrorism pact? I like the idea of that. Your Majesty, Mr. Escobil, how much do you know about the Blutish Freedom Front? They're founded in protest to Tarquin's sold policies in Swordland. They've been active around the border between your two countries. A coalition of radical separatists. They're a resistance group fighting against the oppression of the Blutish people. Their terror organization's fight for freedom has cost many innocent lives. Very good, Your Majesty. And they're not acting alone. Their so-called fight for peace is in reality a mass destabilization effort funded by the West. In fact, one of your BFF's biggest supporters is none other than your lovely sister-in-law. A few more concrete accusations back that up. I have no knowledge what the Kingdom of Rumburg does or doesn't do in Wayland, or do not broach the honor of Her Excellency Queen Beatrice, President Smolak. I beg your pardon, but I have trouble believing you. The BFF are a ragtag bunch of insurgents, not a part of a Western-led conspiracy. They are a conspiracy against Smolak. That's kind of one of the ironic parts of this. They are definitely involved in that. Now, I hope you have concrete evidence to back that up. No, I have no knowledge of what Kingdom of Rumburg does or doesn't do in Wayland, sir. Then perhaps you should ask Her Excellency to fill you in next time you sit down for tea. But it's more like when the BFF has not gone completely inactive since the retirement of Tarquin's soul, and that they may be in fact gathering their strength. But you've not made it clear what you want from Rizia. That is true. The BFF is not active in Rizia. We have some Blutish people, I think, in our borders. I think religiously speaking, there's probably a couple. But they're not a big population here. You may be aware that most Bloods are followers of the Ruristic sect of Golkondism. Yes, they're Golkondists. Yes, their religious fanaticism makes them even more dangerous. I don't see why their beliefs are important. Their motivations are political, not religious. So I hear, aren't the largest Golkondist community outside of Rizia? Precisely, and in fact, Jorga Azmal's country has been granted sanctuary to even the most notorious of Blutish criminals. My request is simple. All Wessex Bloods and Doridian citizens are to be turned away at the Rizian border. Yeah, banning Doridians is pretty extreme. The Wessex Bloods, I could maybe do that, but Rizia is duty bound. Oh god, this is a tough one because it's like there's no real good option here, because either he's gonna be pissed off or we're gonna be really stepping in it, because there's no nice way to ban someone from entering your country based on their religion, right? I can get behind the Blutish ban, but the banning Doridians would have huge international ramifications. Let's try and raise it that way. That way we can at least blunt the ban. As huge as those granting a safe haven to radical terrorists. Mr. Smolak, we are preferring to increase our border security, but an outright ban on Bloods and Doridians will be seen as religious discrimination. Yeah, use Lorento. Lorento will be the sword, and I'll be the he'll be the gauntlet, and I'll be the silk glove. With the ban limited to only those Blutish identification documents, we'd have a far easier time implementing it. Surely you understand. What I understand is that Blutish refugees have fast-tracked to Doridian citizenship. By allowing Doridian passport holders into Rizia, you may as well be opening your doors to the BFF. I do understand your concerns, however. I might be willing to leave Rizia out of the agreement if enough of the other conditions are met. Or what? Your Majesty, let's say the Republic of Wayland decided to take a more proactive approach to the BFF problem. Lorento nervously adjusted his tie. If your kingdom promised to aid us in that, I would be, of course, more valuable than any form of border control. What kind of aid would be required? sounds as if the President of Wayland is asking for intervention of the Rizian military. Nothing so vulgar, Mr. Escobil. It is our long-term goal to drive the insurgents out of their strongholds in the north of our country. Once that happens, we suspect some will flee south towards Zeal. In that case, we would be most grateful the Rizian Navy prevented them from reaching their destination. I see a small contribution to the greater fight against terrorism. Wayland and Rizia arm in arm, neutralizing the double threat of British extremism and Western influence. Just imagine. Let's do that for the terms to discuss. Tell me more about this trade deal, President Smolak. Very gladly, Your Majesty. You know, we're really playing with fire here now with the trade deal. I figure, making sure that British people can't escape the massacres this guy's going to perpetrate on them is pretty awful. But internationally, I think we can kind of get away with it. Violating sanctions, though, might be a little bit more controversial among diplomats. So, you have an oil surplus due to decreased demands from Rumburg and other monarchies. Meanwhile, we are worried about the impact of the loss of Zeal having on our economy, so we need a way to stabilize our currency. We therefore propose a straightforward exchange of Wessex oil for Rizian gold. And what I'm getting at what I am sure you'll agree is a favorable rate. 6 barrels for 1 ounce to be exact. Is that favorable? I guess it's not favorable. What makes you think Rizian the market for Wessex oil or interesting offer, and the rate is indeed favorable? I don't know if that's favorable at all. I wish Lorento would like peep up, or I could ask Lorento if that's a good choice or not. 6 barrels for every ounce. An ounce of gold. Let me see how expensive an ounce of gold is on my phone here. Just, I don't think it correlates necessarily, but let's see. Let's see, cost of ounce of gold. Ounce of gold. Is one ounce gold bar right now would be like $2,000 dues. That's 6 barrels. 6 barrels? That seems... I don't know. I think that's maybe a little bit too much, maybe. Although I don't know what the situation with the oil is. Let me ask him what he thinks we're in the market for Wessex oil. Everyone's in the market for oil. There's a reason that they call it black gold. Well, I mean, yes, it's true that you should diversify your energy sources, but we're about to come into potentially a large amount of natural gas, and we're building a hydroelectric dam. Maybe right access to oil alongside natural gas would grant us more flexibility. Rizia has all the energy it needs. There's no guarantee we'll be awarded any part of the gas field. Having a backup energy source might be prudent. If it's just a statement, let's just say that. Even if the ain't ruled in our favor, we can still use the oil for trade with our neighbors. You see, Your Prodigy, your counsels are very wise. As for your gold, I know better than to question its quality. I have questions about the consistency of your supply. Why is that? As a stakeholder in Rizia's oil mining company, I have a vested interest in keeping gold production consistent. Perhaps you do, but will you be able to keep Morella from nationalizing the MITZ and taking over your mines? President Smolak, please rest assured that we will not promise you an amount of gold we are unable to deliver. However, we have other commodities that we can offer instead of, or in addition to gold. Would you be of interest? If the price is right, why not? I'm a flexible man. With a grin, he held his arm up and bent his wrist nearly all the way backwards. Lorento smiled patiently. I should tell you that Wayland has other commodities too, Mr. Escobil. Oh, you want to expand the market for morphine and other pharmaceutical products, not to mention Maricopa's finest tobacco. Our timber industry is also unrivaled, unparalleled. I don't care about wood. We don't need drugs. We have our own pharmaceutical country. The female always spoke highly of tobacco. Wessex tobacco. Never heard of Wessex wood carvings. Let's not insult him with that. Mr. Smolak, we are negotiating for the legal return of my territory, not haggling in some Wessex bazaar. The Queen Mother always spoke very highly of Wessex tobacco. She's right, your mother. A puff of Marquisha and a sip of your wine. I can't imagine a more delightful combination. You know, I know shops in Ease's little... I can't pronounce that. That's Polish. Where they sell quiche under the table. They can't restock it fast enough. You see, Wayland is not only an oil country, just as Rizia is not only a gold one. There's plenty we can offer each other. Is a bilateral migration agreement what it sounds like? I believe so. We're asking for a complete freedom of movement. Oh, that's extreme. It's also our wish that Wessex residing in this country enjoy the same rights as native-born Rizians. I can extend those rights to Wessex currently living in Zeal, but to every citizen in Wayland? That is kind of extreme. Everyone or no one, Your Majesty, otherwise those in Zeal risk becoming isolated from their family and business connections on the mainland. If we were so highly regulated, the integration of Wessex into the Rizian workforce would be more of a benefit than a drawback. The Sioux Omina would not like that. In fact, they'd see the betrayal. You're not worried about a potential loss of skilled workers as Wessex seek higher compensation in Rizia? I will say I've thought about that, but the trade agreement I have already proposed will help level out the economic disparities between our two nations. You're trying to drag Rizia down to Wayland's level. Take more time to trade deal to repair Wayland's damage, Mr. Smolak. Wayland doesn't have a lot of potential. With the right path to develop, it could be restored to the glory days of the 1920s. We were diamonds in the rough, Your Majesty. Set us in gold and we will shine. Winter took one last glance at the folder and looked up at us both. I believe you covered everything, gentlemen. Not everything. What about the 3-year timeline? Everything except for which of these measures will actually be implemented and how. I believe President Smolak is asking too much. What about the 3-year timeline? Timelines to ensure the kingdom can be relied upon, Your Majesty. You've already been... Yeah. There's already been a timeline. You're simply looking for a long-term partnership with Rizia. You cannot simply tear up the treaty as soon as you get what you want. So we're asking for a 3-year probationary period if all is still well between Wayland and Rizia. By the end of that time, we will be able to return Zeal to full confidence. Do not doubt my kingdom's ability to deliver on its promises. We don't need 3 years. We'll get you everything you're asking for in 3 months. When will it end? How can I be sure that 3 years won't turn into 10, my friend? Don't worry, Your Majesty. As long as the terms are met, the handover process will proceed as planned. Lorenzo finished jotting something down on his notepad. Thank you, Mr. Explanation. Mr. Smolak has been very informative. Would you mind waiting in the sitting room while His Majesty and I decided Rizia's half the agreement? My pleasure. Well, quite a lot to think about, Your Majesty. I have the draft documents right here if you're ready. Let's get to work. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you a couple questions here. I'm confused about this trade deal he's asking for. Do we need to import and export exactly the same amount of goods? Not necessarily. In fact, if we don't want to make too many concessions in this area, we might settle for a lopsided deal. What will the impact be if enacting the bans he's asking for? Now, granting Wessex full rights in Rizia, do you think that's a good idea? Perhaps President Smolak's boldest demands. And it would be rather extreme leap for Rizia, considering that Wessex and other migrants don't even have a right to work the same jobs as native-born Rizians do. Passing such a monumental decree without the approval of your council, the House of Delegates could prove dangerous. Yeah, very much so. Granting worker rights is the furthest you should go, I think, but other factions to me have different opinions. I think he's asking for too much, really. To be honest, we don't have enough of negotiation yet. Damn, really? Even after all that, I mean, I spent time making sure that we have an edge, and I guess I should have done like the full press with Rumberg instead of the half press on these guys. If you refuse every single one of the conditions here, it's difficult to hand over Zeal will be out of the questions. I'm not going to refuse all of them. I appreciate your effort to keep the peace, but even you must realize that the handover was never in the cards. Now, let's just say I understand, and we'll see. What will the impact of the bans be? Depends. Federal immigration goals will overjoy your nationalist supporters, but refusing Doridians entry into the country, yeah, we can't ban the Doridians. Yeah, the Bloods are kind of like everyone, no one really cares. Oh, so Her Excellency would be angry, really? Really? Does she really care for the Bloods like that? I can't imagine she really... I mean, the game's telling me that, but I don't think she would if it was real life, so... Okay, so you have a pretty good negotiating power, so... Choose Wessex goods to be imported to Rizia under new agreement. Let's think morphine, opioids, and other... tobacco. Oil? Let's just do tobacco. Choose Rizian goods to be exported to Wayland under the new agreement. It's -1 budget, or we get natural gas, -2 energy. Oof. Wine. Wine's a gimme. Small arms, maybe. I'm willing to sacrifice... Oh, he likes the gold a lot. Let's do that. I want to keep the small arms just in case. So wine and gold, huh? Promise aid. Very good. Actually, you know what? If we can just ignore that, we can just go like wine, just wine. This will promise aid. Ban only blutish people, maybe? Yeah, I like the idea. So we can ban them from entering. Wizard rights and immediate. Grant Wizards the equal right to work. Not yet, because we could do a lot less then. Okay, so we can get more. Let's get that. We don't even need to import anything. What, really? We could just not export anything? I mean, I can do wine, that's fine. Promise aid. What if you don't promise aid? I'll promise aid just because that seems like it's such a simple thing to do. Do not import... We might have to give them more than wine then. I don't mind that. So we give them wine, and reducing the budget is kind of a pain in the butt. Let's do small arms, maybe. And the equal right to work for the Wessex. This is dangerous because if he doesn't accept it, I assume that negotiating power, that means that it'll be accepted because it's enough. I guess we're gonna find out, huh? Maybe that's just the chance. Maybe that's not like... No one cares about the Blutish. No one really cares about the Blutish. Now, if we blame the Blutish and the Toridians, which would be stupid, but... Foreign aid... It's probably for the best if we're going to be, preventing these people from passing through anyway. Alright. Let's go for it. Went to noted each decision I made in the margin of the document. Went to noting each decision I made in the margin of the document. When he had finished going through everything, he sat back and raised an eyebrow. This all seems reasonable, Your Majesty. I hope Wayland sees it that way as well. Yeah, we got a pretty good deal out of it, I think, ultimately. So Wayland wiped Rosetta crumbs off his mustache as he entered. What a delicious tart your people have invented. Now imagine it with a crust made of strudel pastry. Well, first things first, let's have a look at that treaty. Ronto handed him the annotated draft and he flipped through it eagerly. As he reached the end, his eyes filled with glee. We can definitely work with this, Your Majesty. I have to say, I was not expecting such a generosity from you. Assuming, of course, that you're planning on fulfilling these promises. Okay. I'm a generous king, aren't I? Ramus the Generous, they call me. I know what Wayland is capable of. I won't double-cross you. That's stupid. I offered what I felt was right. I had no idea you'd be also happy. You also would have been happy with less. I'm a generous king, aren't I? They call me Ramus the Generous. And rightly so. Shame such presidents don't get such epithets. Don't they call you Smolak the Steadfast? How about Victor the Victorious? One of the perks of being a monarch. You should try it sometime. Smolak the Steadfast. And gave a belly laugh. I like you, Your Majesty. You one jocular chap. I wish I had time to celebrate, but that place exists. Voids. Next time you visit us, we will smoke quiche together. You'll discover what you're missing out on. Sounds like a plan, Mr. President. And aid will show you out. We'll finish up here, Mr. Smolak. Thanks for your time. See, Mr. Smolak... Victor Smolak is one of those guys, one of those leaders. He's like a Donald Trump or a who's the president of fucking Belarus? I can't think of his name all of a sudden. Lukashenko, who really value personal relationships and diplomacy. They don't see it. They see it as like if two strong guys can get together and have fun, or whatever bullshit they're on about. They'll be more comfortable just having someone in the room and having like various things. They value strong men, basically. So he's very similar to that. Shake his hand. Until next time, Your Majesty. Obviously, the thing with Mr. Smolak, I did it again. The thing with Victor Smolak is that he is somebody who is mostly trustworthy if you are willing to give him what he wants. But as soon as you don't do that, he'll probably do whatever the heck he feels like. And if he feels like he's being you know, made a fool of or not respected, then he'll obviously, you know, he'll lose it. Confidence and your assistance are both most appreciated, Laurento. Very well.